Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I said during our hearing last week, and I want to reiterate again here today, I believe our nation is in the midst of a clean energy revolution. More and more of our electricity is being produced from renewable resources, and according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the nation's fastest growing occupation is wind turbine technician, a good paying job available to those coming right out of high school. It's also worth noting that the states with the highest average salary for a wind turbine technician are Pennsylvania, Iowa, North Dakota, South Dakota, and Oregon. Instead of expanding investments in fossil fuel development, and especially in places like the Atlantic Ocean where there is no existing infrastructure, we should be looking to the future and investing in renewable energy resources. Massachusetts was proud to be among the first states to participate in federal offshore wind development lease sales. Just last September, Secretaries Jewell and Moniz held a press conference announcing the National Offshore Wind Strategy in Massachusetts at the Wind Technology Testing Center, a state-of-the-art blade testing facility in Boston that is helping to develop the next generation of both land-based and offshore wind turbine technologies. Massachusetts is also working with our electric utility companies to reach our state-mandated offshore wind goals over the next decade, goals that were signed into law by our Republican governor. While the administration claims to support all of the above energy production, clean energy is not prioritized in policy proposals and executive orders, nor is it adequately funded in its fiscal year 2018 budget request. It is not surprising that the administration recently announced, and we're discussing here, how it will be fast-tracking approvals of fossil fuel permits on public lands, but made no mention of similarly improving development of clean energy resources. Clean energy on public lands and waters offers tremendous opportunities for job creation and homegrown energy production, and I believe the Trump administration needs a thoughtful, aggressive plan to promote these jobs if it really wants to claim that it is supporting all of the above energy development. We need action, not words. Ms. Howell, I'm just one of many East Coast members of Congress from both sides of the aisle who are opposed to offshore drilling in the Atlantic. My constituents and residents across the state strongly believe that opening new areas to offshore drilling will undermine critical efforts to protect our oceans that we value deeply, support our recreation and tourism. I was just on Cape Cod this past week and see how important it is to the economy of that part of the state. So to support our tourism and recreation economies and our commercial fisheries that we value quite deeply. You spent your career working in the oil and gas industry, and yet you oppose new drilling in the Atlantic. Can you talk again, reiterate why you don't believe that offshore drilling is compatible with existing Atlantic Ocean activities?
Thank you very much, Congresswoman. For several reasons, oil and gas are inconsistent with the East Coast economy. To begin with, the nature of the work required to drill offshore requires, it's a dirty industry. It requires several different ways in which oil and gas are a threat to the coast, not only through the drilling process, but also through transportation, bringing the oil and gas to the onshore facilities where it's refined or liquefied as liquefied natural gas. So there's a variety of ways in which oil and gas can enter the coastal stream, and that doesn't have to require a blowout. In addition, and the Gulf Coast has a history of leaks of all sorts from these types of activities. In addition, the nature of the tourist economy on the Atlantic is that we have grown up with tourism on the Atlantic, as opposed to the Gulf of Mexico, which grew up with the oil and gas business. You don't go to the beach in South Louisiana. With the tourism that Ms. LeBlanc referred to, of course, is centered around New Orleans, which is 100 miles from the coast. My son grew up going to Cape Cod on the summertime. We spent 20 years at Northeast Ham Beach. I know how precious that place is, as well as the coastline where I live now. When Deepwater Horizon happened in the Gulf, the spill was of such a magnitude it cost just the state of Louisiana alone $247 million in revenue, in tourism revenue. And South Carolina benefited, unfortunately, from that spill, or fortunate for us, unfortunately for Louisiana, because people left the Gulf of Mexico. They decided not to vacation there, and they came instead to the Carolinas. That's the cost. That's the real cost of tourism.
Thank you. I yield back.
I thank the gentlewoman.